8.1 billion heartbeats. In a single second, silence. The engines stop. The voices fade. The greatest noise in history is replaced by a terrifying, absolute void. The grid begins to fail. Without engineers, power plants shut down. Darkness rolls across the continents like a tide, swallowing the lights of our civilization. Underground, the battle is lost. Without electric pumps, the subways flood. Inside our homes, a tragedy unfolds. Millions of pets are trapped, waiting for a key in the lock that will never turn. Their world has ended inside four walls. On industrial farms, life has stalled. Billions of livestock are left without water or food. The scale of this biological collapse is simply unprecedented. Nuclear cooling water evaporates. Hydrogen builds up. Without human intervention, the world's most dangerous shadows begin to stir inside the dead reactors. Industrial ghosts awaken, refineries explode, ignited by pressure. Fires burn for months, with no one left to hear the sirens or fight the spreading flames. Nature begins to hack our concrete. Our machines stand frozen, their lights flickering out forever. The earth is breathing again, reclaiming its ancient stone. Predators enter our suburbs, guided by porch lights that no one will turn off. For them, our illuminated homes are not sanctuaries. They are new hunting grounds. The carbon machines have stopped. For the first time in centuries, the air is crystal clear. Global warming hits a forced pause. The planet takes a clean breath. 1 year, our eyes in the sky fail. Satellites burn up in the atmosphere like falling stars. A silent fireworks show for a planet that no longer remembers us. 5 years. The ink fades. Books dissolve into black mold. The entire history of our species is being digested by the damp air and the relentless wind. 10 years. Our engineering marvels buckle. Massive dams crack under the weight of the rivers they once held. The power of water is finally unleashed. 20 years. The halls of art are silent. The Mona Lisa rots in the damp dark. Without climate control, our culture is erased by moisture and time. 30 years. The steel bridges snap. Corruption and rust eat through the cables of our connections. The monuments of the 20th century fall into the sea. 40 years. The streets are buried. Dirt and sand reclaim the boulevards. Our red buses become steel islands in a rising sea of green and dust. 50 years. The nuclear tombs crack. Ancient radiation leaks into a world that has forgotten the danger. A poisonous legacy that outlasts our names. 70 years. The skyscrapers become hollow trees. Forests grow 50 stories above the ground. Snow falls in offices where the world was once ruled. 80 years. The plastic remains. Our steel turns to salt, but our synthetic waste is immortal. A colorful reef of trash haunts the rising tides forever. 1 century. The Great Erasure is complete. Manhattan is a canyon of emerald green. We are no longer masters. We are a memory buried under the leaves. 200 years. Gravity reclaims its debt. The apartment blocks collapse into piles of stone and soil. Our homes are now just hills in a nameless forest. 300 years. The desert has won. Cities built on sand return to the sand. Dubai and Vegas are buried, leaving only glass tips as a warning to no one. 400 years. The seeds of our past remain frozen in the north. A silent vault of life waiting for a gardener who will never return to the ice. 500 years. Our bridges are now reefs. Iron and steel have been absorbed by the sea. Nature has finished digesting the connections we built to last. 600 years. The subways are caves. Stalactites grow from the ceilings of our tunnels. The trains are iron fossils in a world that forgot how to move. 700 years. The ozone is healed. The air is sharp and clean. Without our smoke, the planet breathes with a power we haven't seen for millennia. 800 years. Our screens are now sand. Polished glass covers the beaches, the only colorful remains of a digital age that has been ground to dust. 900 years. The highway is a forest floor. Trees grow through the concrete, using our asphalt as soil. We are the iron in the roots of the world. On the moon, we remain. A white flag stands in the gray dust, bleached by the sun. The only place where the human era has not been erased by the green. 1,000 years. The reset is complete. The noise, the greed, and the heat are gone. The earth is a masterpiece once more, silent, perfect, and at peace. Our prayers have finally been answered by a profound and absolute silence. The great stone cathedrals, once built to echo with hymns and worship, have been reclaimed by the very earth they stood upon. Ancient oaks now push through the marble floors, their branches weaving through shattered stained glass to touch the sky. God has returned to his original garden, and the only sermons left are the whispers of the wind through the ivy. We are gone, and the stone has found its peace. Deep beneath the surface, the intelligence we once feared has become a flickering ghost in a rusted shell. These laboratories, where we tried to engineer immortality and connect our minds to the machine, are now flooded tombs of silicon and salt. A single dim LED light blinks in the dark, a heartbeat of a digital god waiting for a command that will never come. The great intelligence explosion ended not with a bang, but with the slow, rhythmic dripping of water in the dark. Wealth has no meaning in a world of eternal ice and encroaching vines. The luxury penthouses, once the highest summits of human greed and status, are now hollow canyons filled with snow. A rusted piano sits in the center of a glass-shattered room, its keys played only by the freezing wind. We spent our lives climbing to the top, only to leave behind monuments of vanity that the frost is now slowly grinding into dust. In the end, nature is the only true elite. The ink has turned to soil, and our stories have returned to the earth. In the skeletal remains of our great libraries, the paper that held our entire history is dissolving into gray dust and black mold. 1,000 years of poems, wars, and discoveries are now nothing more than fertilizer for the ancient trees growing through the roof. If there is no one left to read the words, and no mind to remember the names, did our struggle ever happen? We have become a silent footnote in a book of moss. Our frantic battle against mortality has ended in a silent blue tomb of coral and salt. The temples of medicine, where we fought to extend every breath, are now submerged reefs where schools of fish dart through robotic arms. Nature has no need for our cures, and the ocean does not care for our anatomy. The machines that once scanned our hearts are now covered in sea anemones, perfectly integrated into an ecosystem that never needed us to survive. Death has finally been outpaced by life. 1,000 years have turned our greatest cities into graveyards of steel. These skyscrapers, once symbols of our reaching for the stars, now resemble the ribcages of long-dead giants. Nature has stripped them of their glass and their pride, leaving only rusted bones to crumble into the soil. As the river carves its way through the fallen concrete, it carries away the last fragments of our ambition, returning the iron back to the earth from which it was stolen. In the silent halls of our factories, the assembly lines have become meadows. The robots that once moved with surgical precision are now frozen monuments, draped in moss and wildflowers. Where the roar of engines once filled the air, there is only the sound of water dripping and the soft breath of a deer. Our obsession with production has been replaced by the slow, patient rhythm of growth. The machine has finally been integrated into the garden, lost in the green. Our seats of power are now kingdoms of silt and salt. Beneath the waves, the marble pillars of our democracy are being slowly dissolved by the ocean. Sharks glide through the halls where laws were once debated, and kelp forests dance where leaders once stood. The sea does not recognize our borders or our authority. It only knows the slow, crushing weight of time, erasing our political legacy until only the cold, blue silence of the deep remains. On the highest peaks, our eyes to the universe are finally closed. These telescopes, built to find meaning in the stars, are now just perches for the predators of the new world. The glass is cracked, the mirrors are clouded, and the signals have stopped. Yet, the universe remains as vast and indifferent as ever. We spent centuries looking for an answer, only to leave behind machines that continue to stare at the sky, long after we have forgotten why we ever looked up. The echoes of our digital age are fading into the static. Across the deserts, the great satellite dishes that once whispered to the stars are now collapsing under the weight of the sand. Our broadcasts, our songs, and our data are drifting further into the void, becoming nothing more than background noise in the cosmic dark. The radio silence is finally here. We have shouted into the abyss for 100 years, and now the abyss is finally at peace with our silence. 2,000 years have passed, and our most persistent legacy is not our art or our science, but our waste. Entire continents of plastic now shimmer under the sun, forming a new geological era. We have literally rewoven the crust of the earth with polymers and synthetics. These colorful mountains will outlast our languages and our gods, standing as a toxic monument to a species that learned how to create, but never learned how to clean. We are gone, but our plastic is immortal, Deep beneath the soil, our subways have transformed into alien caverns. The iron from our trains has bled into the stone, creating jagged stalactites of rust and salt. In this cold, dark world, life has found a way to thrive without the sun. Bioluminescent fungi pulse with light where commuters once rushed, and the silence of the tunnels is broken only by the steady, rhythmic heartbeat of the earth. We didn't just build tunnels, we created the foundations for a new hidden world. Our final attempt to save our civilization now lies shattered in the dust. The great solar fields, once built to capture the power of the stars, are now just fields of broken glass. The sand is slowly burying the mirrors that once reflected our hopes for a green future. There is a haunting beauty in this failure, the way the sun still shines on the shards, unaware that its energy is no longer being harvested. We reach for the light, but the desert always had the final word. 3,000 years. The erasure is total. Where the great capitals of Europe once stood, there is now only a vast, unbroken sea of green. The concrete has been ground into soil, the steel has turned to dust, and the very memory of our cities has been washed away by the rain. If a visitor from another star arrived today, they would find a planet of breathtaking beauty, but they would never guess that 8 billion people once called this garden their home. On the silent plains of the moon, our only untainted monument remains. The flag we planted in a moment of supreme triumph has been bleached pure white by the sun's radiation. And 1,000 years later, our only voices are in the void. A small craft of gold and silicon carries our songs into a darkness that will never answer back. Life has moved on. Strange, beautiful creatures now roam the spaces we once paved. The Earth has reinvented itself, proving we were only temporary guests. The fever of humanity has broken. The planet's pulse is once again steady, rhythmic, and pure. This is the masterpiece of balance that was always meant to be. Deep beneath the roots, a few fragments remain. A ring, a toy, a shard of glass. We were a brief spark in the dark, now returning to the minerals of the Earth. We are astro-scale visuals. Join us as we explore the science and mysteries of our universe. Subscribe, and don't let the silence be the only thing we leave behind.